Hello grade 8s, welcome to your second video of 2017. Today is hopefully going to be a quick video, although I say that all the time. And we have a lot of fun activities to do in class with today's topic, which is new ideas during the Renaissance. Please write down today's date, your title, which should be underlined, and our learning objectives. We are going to understand the impact of these new ideas on society. As you can see, you're in the LO. These two ideas we're going to focus on today. The first is humanism, which I know I've mentioned a few times in class already. The second one I have not yet mentioned, but that is the development of the printing press. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember guys, pause the video at any time. You know the drill. Let's get started. Okay, here is a quick starter activity for you that I would like you to answer now in your notebooks, and I want to hear your answers in class. So imagine you saw a really beautiful, interesting, cool sight that you want to share with your friends. They're not there. You also don't have a phone or a camera, so you cannot record it. How would you recreate that moment to share with your friends or family? What would you do to explain or show them what you saw? Okay, so please answer that in your notebooks in a full sentence. How would you recreate that really amazing moment that you witnessed to share with your friends or family? So think about that and write that in full sentences. All right, let's talk about humanism. So in the 1300s, a new way of understanding the world developed in medieval Europe. This new approach was called humanism. It was based on the values of ancient Greeks and Romans. Humanists believed that individual and human society were important. Humanists did not turn away from religious faith, but they wanted a balance between faith and reason. Their new ideas encouraged men to be active in their cities and achieve great things. So if you recall, when the Black Plague occurred during the medieval ages, a lot of people died. And this caused people to really look at themselves and looked at how they lived life. During the Renaissance, people are going to continue to be very religious, but at the same time, they're beginning to question things a little bit. And instead of worrying so much about the afterlife, they're going to focus on the life they're living right now. And that is what humanism is about. You might also notice this last bullet point here. The reason why it is called humanism is because during the Renaissance, there's a huge focus on what people can achieve and human innovation. So humanism, if you look at that root word, it is human, and people are looking to themselves and seeing that their lives are important and they should really consider what they do with their lives and their time here on earth. Okay, here's a quick example of what I am talking about. Here on your side, you can see a picture on the left. That is a painting from the medieval ages. And on the right-hand side, you will see a sculpture from the Renaissance. What I would like you to do is list 3 differences between the art that you can see. Don't mention the materials used. Obviously, one is painted, and the other is a marble sculpture. But I want you to list 3 artistic differences that you might notice. In particular, I want you to focus on how the humans look. And this just goes to show the huge difference that humanism has already made on the artists during the Renaissance. So this artist on the right has really focused on human qualities, and you can see that in the difference between the medieval painting and the Renaissance sculpture. So in your notebook, come up with 3, you can just write 3 bullet points, the difference between the painting on the left and the sculpture on the right. And we'll take that up together in the lesson. So how did humanism impact or affect society? And I also want to stress that we will continue this learning objective in class together. So humanist scholars meaning people who work in universities, people who are reading lots and producing lots of books, studied the Greeks and Romans to increase their knowledge of many different topics. So this is definitely something we've already discussed in class, that the Renaissance is a rebirth, and they're looking to the past before medieval ages, and they are reading what the Greek and Roman scholars wrote as well. So during the Renaissance, people were curious about everything, including plants, animals, human anatomy, medicine, the stars, and planets. That's also something we will talk about in a different lesson when we talk about something called the scientific revolution. One of the best Renaissance scientist was also a great artist, and you have definitely heard of him, and we've already talked about him in class, and that is Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo dissected corpses to learn anatomy and studied fossils to understand the world's history. He was also an inventor and an engineer. Most of what we know about Leonardo comes from his notebooks. Leonardo filled their pages with sketches of his scientific and artistic beliefs. Centuries before the airplane was invented, Leonardo drew sketches of a glider, a helicopter, and a parachute. Other sketches show a version of a military tank and even a scuba diving suit. How cool is that? So not only are people's attitudes changing, not only is art changing, but also literature is changing. So during the Renaissance, educated people wrote in pure Latin, which was the Latin used in ancient Rome. One Renaissance scholar thought classical Latin was the best way to write, but when he wanted to write poems to the women he loved, he wrote in the vernacular. And as you can see, that's going to be an important keyword, so make sure you have that in your notebooks, underlined, highlighted, starred, whatever. And the vernacular is the everyday language that people speak in a region. At the time in Europe, that would have been Italian, French, or German. For example, when authors began writing in the vernacular, many more people could then read their work. Not everybody could read Latin. In the early 1300s, a poet named Dante, who was from Florence, wrote one of the world's greatest poems in the vernacular. It was called The Divine Comedy. As a young man, Dante was active in politics, but when noble families began fighting over power, he had to leave Florence. That was when he wrote his long poem, more than 14,000 lines. So next time you have to write a poem for Miss Cat, don't complain because Dante wrote 14,000 lines. The Divine Comedy tells the gripping tale of the main character's journey from hell to heaven. The horrible punishments for different sins were vividly described. Another important writer who used the vernacular was Chaucer. Chaucer wrote in English in his famous book, The Canterbury Tales. He describes 29 pilgrims on their journey to the city of Canterbury. The Canterbury Tales describes the levels of English society from the nobles at the top to the poor at the bottom. The English Chaucer used in his writing is the ancestor of the English we speak today. But if we had a look at the original writing of the Canterbury Tales, we might have some difficulty with that language. The printing press was a key to the spread of humanist ideas throughout Europe. In the early 1450s, Johannes Gutenberg, and that's how you say it, you don't pronounce the J, he developed a printing press that used movable metal type. This type of printing press made it possible to print many books much more quickly. With more books available, more people learned to read. Scholars could read one another's works and debate their ideas in letters. Ideas grew and spread more quickly than ever before in Europe. Also think about today we have things like the Kindle, and you can get a book instantly, as long as your parents let you borrow their credit card. And that's kind of like the printing press, not as quickly as a Kindle, but instead of having monks write out books, if you remember, we learned about that in the medieval times, they were the only people who could read and write. Now we have a printing press. Here's a little picture where you can press a piece of paper onto some letters that have ink on them. Bam! You can create works of literature much more quickly than by rewriting by hand. Now that more people have access to this material and more people are writing in the vernacular, more people are learning to read, and ideas are spreading like crazy at this time. And that is so important to know. Okay, guys, we're going to stop there today. I'm going to get it in at just around 11 minutes for this video. Woohoo! If you have any questions on Monday, be ready with those and I will answer them for you, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.